Hello. Bring this down. We'll let it roll in the background, though. All right, first five. There was a stretch in there where I was answering every question that came in before the show. It's a bit much. Trying to be a little extra generous there, but we're going to go to first five. So that is Richard, Jason, Ivan or Ivan, Rami. No, Rami, that's not a question. Yakov and Barry. First five. First five questions get answered pre-show, and I'm going to do that here in 1 second because I want to make sure that my deal gets retweeted here from another account. All right. I want to set up my own scheduled retweet. Sorry, guys. Got to push. Got to do a little push here, you know? Got push. Today Tuesday? It is. All right. So 20 some odd of you are here. Welcome, everybody. Foolish mortals. Welcome, foolish mortals. Go click that like button before we get started. If any of you are watching here for a first time, please do subscribe. There's only a couple of you seemingly each day hitting that subscription button right now. That's right, Beans. Thumbs up. Don't forget to thumb it up. Stick that thumb right up it. Let's start with Richard. Who's better at, Tyus Jones or Alex Caruso? These are two names I did not expect to see as our first question of the day. It would have been Caruso prior to the Bulls signing of Patrick Beverley, but everybody else in that backcourt's a little bit marginalized. It's probably Tyus Jones, although he's also been pretty well minimized lately because Ja's played in a few games in a row. There's always a Ja missed game coming, but Tyus has been very bad up until his last ball game, which was a blowout. So no surprise there. He got a little bit of an extra chunk of minutes. Hemming and hawing on this one. I'm going to go Caruso. I feel like he has a path to like 24, 25 minutes some nights where Tyus Jones is more like 16 to 20. Caruso. Final answer. Jason. No last name. That's the artist, formerly known as Jason with a last name. In 9-Cat 16-teamers, would you trade OG Anunoby for Cam Johnson and Dennis Smith Jr.? I just lost LaMelo and need the depth. Well, here's the thing. If this was like December, I'd say no, because in that case, you want to wait on OG to get hot. But we may just not have time for OG to get hot. So the fact that you can get Cam Johnson, who's probably going to be like a top 70 guy the rest of the way, and Dennis Smith is probably going to be like top 80. And OG, yeah, I mean, he could crank it up and go back to that 30 range, or maybe he really does just coast along at like a 50 to 80 clip, in which case you end up winning this trade. So would I, in a vacuum? No, but understanding that it's February 28th and playoffs are starting for a lot of head-to-head leagues where you need the depth. Roto, you probably don't need the depth as much. So Roto, I would lean a little bit more towards no, but head-to-head, yeah, I'm fine with it. Yes, you should drop Ben Simmons. Ivan or Ivan, I'm guessing you're relatively new to the program, so welcome. But I've been saying that for a long time. And I took a lot of heat earlier this year for yelling from the mountaintops that Ben Simmons was a sell high. And that's the thing, man. Sometimes you got to plant your flag in an unpopular opinion. And now you wouldn't have to worry about that. You could have gotten like a top 40 guy for Ben Simmons back in November when he was upright. Dennis Smith Jr., Jalen Williams, Mike Conley, pick 2 10-teamer. Jalen Williams is 100% in. No question on that one. So to me, you're debating between Dennis Smith and Mike Conley. You're debating 2 point guards. You're a little bit on the stat hunting battle here for those two guys, because Dennis Smith, you're going to get assists. Mike Conley, you're going to get assists. That's where they overlap. But Smith Jr., you'll get a ton of steals and very little else. Conley, you'll get some threes and a little bit of steals. And both guys will be okay at the free throw line and not particularly great from the field. Dennis Smith probably a little bit better from the field, a little bit worse at the foul line. Conley a little worse from the field because he's shooting jumpers. So you're splitting hairs a little bit there. I think Conley's probably like around 90 to 100. Dennis Smith probably like 80 to 100 range. It's a coin flip. I probably go Conley because he's a starter, and Dennis Smith is probably still going to come off they might start him. Keep Terry Rozier at shooting guard. There was a stretch earlier this year where they were starting Rozier at point. I think that was when Dennis Smith was out. Yeah, they're probably both starting and playing 30 minutes. If we're just going this week, I probably go Conley. If you're looking even more towards the end of the season, I might look Dennis Smith Jr. because at some point, Rozier is going to get a night off. Hayward's going to get shut down. And then Dennis Smith, if they keep playing him, then he'll go completely insane. That's a top 50 run, probably late March. I guess if you roll it all together, I suppose it's Dennis Smith Jr. if you rolled it all together. Dennis Smith or KJ Martin points league. Okay, well, that shakes things up a little bit. KJ, I think he's still gonna start post Eric Gordon trade, but he's certainly not gonna have this kind of usage when Kevin Porter and Jalen Green come back, who I think they might both be ready to return. So I would lean Dennis Smith because he's trending up, and right now I think you're going to see Martin trending down. And those are the first 5 questions. I know, and there was a stretch here where I was doing literally every single question in the chat room before this show started. I'm not going to do that anymore. I need the rest of you guys to actually watch to the end to see your question get answered. And plus, it ends up taking me a bazillion years to get through these things. So first 5, you guys better get in here quickly if you want your question answered next time. Yes, please like and subscribe. You are correct. Sports Ethos. You are a wise ethos. And there's me, little Dan Bespris. Slightly bigger Dan Bespris. Switched up the hat game today, but I'm realizing I'm going sort of all blacks in this one. Some have called me Johnny Cash. Some have called me... Who else was all black? Jay-Z? Was Jay-Z all black? Oh, man. Who was and then there was a designer. Who was the designer that was all black and white? I had a good buddy. I wish I could find a picture of him. His name is Philip Gyrie. No chance he's watching this show. What's up, Philip? Who wore black work pants, black boots, black inside-out shirt so the logo wouldn't show, and a black pen clipped right here. And what used to be a black Yankees hat that had been faded to gray by outdoor working for so long. This is my homage. What is this goop? Is there goop on my shirt? Didn't notice that until I got on there. Could be anything. Probably a kid's eye booger or something like that. I'll just keep scratching it until it goes away. What could go wrong? Scratch, 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 scratch. Still there. Get a little moisture on that bad boy. Good enough. Anyway, homage to Philip. My all black everything shirt here. Okay, let's fire up the recording software. Let's do a show. Is that music still going? Yeah, it's still going. I'm going to try to keep spirits high on this podcast, but it's not going to be easy. Because yesterday truly was, didn't even matter what sport you were paying attention to. Yesterday was a day of injury, and it sucks. You don't expect to have such a short card and also come up with big injury stuff. Although, to be fair, one of them was from a game on Sunday, so I guess I need to be a little bit more judicious in how I throw around what happened on yesterday's actual card. But the big one, of course, is LaMelo Ball, who seemed to just kind of roll his ankle a little bit, not on anybody else's foot. He was kind of backpedaling, and it buckled. And I remember I was watching that game because it's funny, I was watching Dennis Smith Jr., because I had just talked about him on the podcast as a guy sliding into additional role when Jalen McDaniels and Mason Plumlee got shipped out. And it wasn't the most obvious thing because you figured, all right, 2 front court guys. Now, PJ Washington was out in yesterday's ball game as well, so it was 3 guys out. And that's when Dennis Smith kind of jumped up from like 25, 26 minutes up into the 30 range. Was they just moved everybody up a click. It wasn't like DSJ was getting PJ Washington's minutes. It was that, Kelly Oubre, who's been working his way back, he picked up a few. And JT Thor picked up probably the biggest chunk of them. But then everybody just had to do a little bit more. So Gordon Hayward had to go a little bit more, and Rozier had to do a little bit more, and Oubre a little bit more. And that just meant that they'd slide them up a click, and Dennis Smith was able to pick up a few point guard minutes. And I was talking about him on these podcasts late last week, early this week, and I wanted to watch him. I wanted to see what he looked like. More than anything, how did he fit even with the additional minutes? And it was, wasn't anything to write home about. In fact, after half of this ball game, my thought was, DSJ, fine, but more of a schedule stream. And I was getting ready to shuffle along. And then LaMelo had that weird third quarter foot tweak. And I remember right around the quarter break, I think that the Hornets threw it to their studio crew. And the studio crew was like, let's hope that there was just a little roll and, the ankle just buckled. He's had some ankle stuff this year and, they'll be cautious and hopefully everything will be okay. They didn't have that gravity in their tone that it did ultimately end up being. So LaMelo Ball, who set, I think, some kind of franchise record at halftime with 15 points and 5 boards and 5 assists and 5 3-pointers or something crazy like that, didn't add, unfortunately, to that mark, and then fractured his ankle is the ruling. X-rays were not clean. LaMelo Ball is out for the season, and all of a sudden, Dennis Smith Jr. got real interesting. So I don't want to gloss over the fact that this has been a complete and utter disaster of a year for LaMelo Ball. He was, I feel, somewhat fortunate, not someone that we targeted in drafts. Not because of this. I didn't think that he was going to be hurt for half the year. I just thought that he was generally getting overdrafted. And then I think he came into the season with a tweak, so that pushed him down the board a little bit. I thought, okay, well, if he's really falling towards the end of the second round, then we could take a look at him. But I don't believe he fell that far. And where the hell did he go in some of my competitive drafts? Competitive league, he went at 15. Is that where it generally was? All right, I got to pull up the draft analysis board at Yahoo to see where the hell this dude was going. We'll sort by ADP. We'll do this live on air. 13.3. So LaMelo was going early second round. And in my estimation, I thought that was still a little bit too soon. So we didn't end up with a lot of LaMelo. It's largely a bullet dodge for us. But this still sucks because I know some of you, many of you actually, probably listen to a few different things when you're sorting out your stuff. You're not like exclusively Fantasy NBA Today and then go. Many of you listen to this. You probably read some other stuff at Ethos. You probably listen to some other pods. You probably read some other articles. You look at all the different rank boards. And I actually don't. I've completely stopped looking at anything else that anybody else does. I feel like I've actually gotten better by not clouding my own judgment. So I have no idea who had LaMelo higher, who had him lower. I just know that some of you are going to end up with him, as I wrench my hand through my headphones mid-show. I just know some of you are going to end up with him, and this sucks for you. But if we want to try to look at this from a slightly more positive standpoint, which is very hard to do, I understand, Dennis Smith Jr. now steps into a much larger role. One of the reasons that I was only kind of high on DSJ on these recent shows, even with his higher minute total, was that, yes, he was playing what you'd call point guard, but the guys that he was battling for ball handling duty, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, and then more recently now Kelly Oubre coming back, these are a lot of of kind of ball dominant type of players. Less so Oubre. He doesn't pass. Once he gets it from the other guys, he's going to shoot it. But Rozier, he's a creator. Hayward's a creator. LaMelo's a creator. That made the path for Dennis Smith to actually orchestrate anything kind of difficult. And a lot of his value was wrapped up in assists and steals, and only one of those two things you can get if you don't actually have the basketball in your hand. So, yes, PJ Washington being out created a path for DSJ to see a few extra minutes on the court. But no, it didn't really create a path for him to get to do a lot more in those minutes in the way that this news definitely does. So, yes, this is a disaster for LaMelo Ball, and his season will go down as a massive flop. However, now DSJ has one fewer creator in front of him, and we don't know when PJ Washington's coming back. I'm actually not that concerned about it because now with the point guard down, you'll see Dennis Smith get, I would think, at least high 20s in minutes almost every ball game. And then some days, even if he's coming off the bench, once this team's fully healthy and they move everybody down a peg, so it'll be Rozier at point guard, Hayward would be the shooting guard. I mean, it feels like Dennis Smith is going to start the rest of the way. And then JT Thor would be swapped out for PJ Washington when he returns. But I guess there's a universe where Oubre moves into the starting lineup and blah, blah, blah. Regardless, Dennis Smith feels like he's on his way to 28 minutes or more. And more of those minutes will be as the primary. Or at least the secondary. Not so much tertiary or quaternary, which is what we were seeing a little bit before. What does that mean from a fantasy standpoint? I don't think you can go back to the beginning of the year because that was a stretch where he was playing with no Rozier and no Ball. So there wasn't really any other guard standing in his way. Hayward was oddly upright during most of those ball games. That was before Gordon's first injury. This won't quite be like that because Hayward, Rozier, those guys are still kind of in the way instead of being, in that case, he was the secondary guy. Now he's probably, again, more like secondary or tertiary in most situations. But you're going to see a little bit of an uptick. So early in the year, we saw Dennis Smith touching top 50, kind of hovering more in the 50 to 60 range. More recently, even with the bigger minutes, he was more in the 90 to 100 range. Now you probably see him push more in the, I would think, 80 is a decent target for him. And that's also what I tweeted over at Dan Vespris on Twitter. And the other news of the day is that LeBron James, we got a timetable on his ankle injury, which that all happened since our last show. Goodness, I forgot. So the LeBron thing, we knew he had been, I think we knew yesterday when we did the pod that he had already been ruled out for the Lakers game against Memphis. But a lot of us, myself included, thought that perhaps the Lakers were just kind of playing it safe in the front end of a back-to-back in a game that they didn't expect to win. Because D'Lo is still doubtful with his ankle tweak. And then the Lakers have the Thunder the following night, which, and that's a colossally important game for LA. Well, then the news came out more towards the evening yesterday that the Lakers were bracing for LeBron to miss extended time. Which, in my opinion, I thought that meant a month. Extended time in my mind is a month. The news this morning, I mean, this has been a freaking roller coaster for LeBron. The news this morning suggests that LeBron is expected to miss at least 2 weeks, and they're shooting for the 2 to 3 week timetable. They didn't do this sort of will be reevaluated shtick, because when you hear 2 to 3 week or reevaluated in 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is, the thing that pops into all of our minds, and it should, frankly, is that's not actually what it's going to like. Remember, Steph went down and they were like, oh, we're going to check him out in 2 to 3 weeks. And now he's not anywhere close to coming back. Shams verbiage, Shams Charania, will likely miss the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's not a reevaluation. That's a, we hope to have him back in 2 to 3 weeks. Will he for sure? Hard to say. But it does sound like he's trying to get back at some point mid-late March and still have another 2 to 3 weeks of regular season under his belt. This is extremely troubling if you're in a head-to-head format. And I would use this as yet another reason for me to say to you, come on, try Roto. Because this is bad for Roto, but it doesn't end a season. It doesn't end a season. You lose your second-round pick for 2 to 3 weeks. That doesn't end your season. I know LeBron has been a little beat up this year, and he's sort of probably trying to play in about 55 to 57 games when all is said and done, and that'll be far less than any of us were hoping for, and that'll cause him to miss his ADP, at least on the total side. ADP on the head-to-head side, he's probably, or per game side, he's probably going to be very close. But if you're in a Roto league, you just sit on him for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you hope to get him back for the last 3. Doesn't end your season. Head-to-head playoffs that start this week, next week, or even the week after that, this LeBron injury probably ends your season. Or at the very least forces you to drop your second-round pick for somebody on the waiver wire. That's crushing. I get it. It's soul-crushing. Play Roto. Play Roto. You won't have this problem. Play Roto and you won't have this problem, people. If somebody misses 20 games during a season, it's annoying, but it doesn't end your season. And by the way, this isn't even the best example of it. I always think back to, what year was it? Was it the COVID year? No, I think it was the year after that. I think it was 2020, 2021, that I just had this absolute juggernaut rolling through my head-to-head league. I had a first-round bye. I had everything queued up for the semifinal round. And you guys, I might be getting the year wrong. I had Trey, who was having one of his big seasons then, if I'm not mistaken. Was that one of the good Trey years? And then I had Zach LaVine, who was having one of his big seasons. And I forget who else. All I know is that I got into that semifinal round, and I was just tweaked, man. I was going to obliterate my opponent because I'd made all my moves the week before to bulk up my games played. And then Trey tweaked an ankle. It was like the only injury he had the whole damn season. And he missed, what was it, 2-3 games? The whole freaking year, he missed like 3 games, and it was in that one semifinal week. And Zach LaVine went into protocols. He was in COVID, and I lost. Those guys combined, whatever year that was. I think it was 2020, 2021, but I'm not positive because they all blur together a little bit. Maybe it was it couldn't have been the COVID year because that all got canceled. Was it the year before COVID? Is that possible? 18, 19? No, that can't be right. When the crap did this happen? It doesn't matter. They all run together, and I know it wasn't last year. So I thought it was 2020, 21, but I truly don't remember. And I lost because of one little blip. Play Roto. I'm always going to have a couple of head-to-head leagues because I think it's really important that I do it kind of along with all of you. So that way when I'm giving head-to-head advice, it's not like I'm just pulling it out of the clouds. But this LeBron injury probably ends a lot of head-to-head seasons. And that sucks because 2 to 3 weeks is actually not that long. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. I don't even think I said hello. Hi, I am Dan Bespris, at Dan Bespris on Twitter. Hey, are a lot of you hanging out with me on YouTube these days? We're trying to do it every single weekday. I don't know that I can pull it off every single one, but darn it, I'm relatively close, and I feel pretty good about that. So, if you're watching this show live, I'm so grateful. Thank you for doing so. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube page because we're doing these types of things every single day. If you are listening on one of the recorded channels, come join us live on YouTube. We try to do it some point during the 9 a.m. hour Pacific time every day. The first 5 questions at the beginning of the show in the YouTube live chat, I will answer before the show starts. So if you're quick on the draw, you can get your question answered. I will also answer usually all of the questions that remain after the show on YouTube. So it's a really fun way for you guys, if you want to bug me on something specific to your team, you can do that. It's youtube.com/sportsethos is the website. I hope that we will see you guys over there. Again, like and subscribe and use the chat room. If you're watching live right now, throw your question in the chat room. We'll get to that after the show begins. I also hope that any of you that are joining us here for the first time and did not find us through Twitter will now find me over on Twitter at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris. It is right there on your screen if you're watching live. For those of you listening, DanBesbris. All right, we talked about the big stories from yesterday, but let's go through some of the little stuff as well. Charlotte beat Detroit 117-106. They were up big in this ball game, and then LaMelo got hurt, and then they were not up quite as large as the game continued to kind of piddle along. We talked about Dennis Smith Jr. a lot. Also of note on the Charlotte side, Mark Williams, another double-double, 15 and 11 with a block on excellent field goal percent. This should be a really nice run for him rest of season, probably in the 70 range is where I'm hunting. Anything above that, I'll be very pleased. Gordon Hayward continues his late season surge. Took him 3 months to figure out how to play basketball again. By the way, it's not a coincidence that the Hornets have started, actually, sometimes you figure at this point, accidentally winning basketball games since Gordon Hayward started to play a little bit better. I mean, they're cooked now with no LaMelo, but they're actually 5-5 in their last 10 ball games and on a 5-game winning streak. Hornets, you're screwing this up. You're screwing it up a lot, actually. You're 4.5 games up on the third worst record. I don't know if the Hornets are going to effectively tank right. You idiots. It's actually kind of okay. What it also means is that, at least right now, they're not going into full tank mode. And if they win a couple more ball games, they're probably not going to be able to get into that bottom 3. And that might allow them to play Rozier, Hayward, Oubre, etc. a little bit more down the stretch. That's good. Oubre, by the way, is up to 27 minutes now. I think you can safely start him in most formats, especially with LaMelo going down. He gets a bunch of extra usage as well. It's Chuck time, baby. Let's get chucking. For Detroit, everybody was hurt. I did this stupid crap on yesterday's show where I wasn't sure if I was pronouncing Isaiah Liver's name right, and then I was going to go look it up after the show. And of course, I forgot to do so. So I'm going to screw it up again on this one. Sigh. Oh, well. Anyway, he got hurt. That's the point. Rodney Magruder stepped into a bunch of extra playing time. Gross. I mentioned Alec Burks as what I thought would be a good fill-in for Jaden Ivey. And he basically was 17 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, and a steal. So nice little stream for Burks. Killian Hayes stepped into a much larger role with no Ivy around. He's also likely streamable as long as Ivy is missing time, which doesn't sound like it's going to be all that long, but that's the Detroit backcourt, which is super weird right now. If you look at the Detroit front court, I mean, what an absurd situation they got going on there. Jalen Duren is nursing bilateral ankle soreness. Got a case of the sore foot. So James Wiseman played 27 minutes. Didn't pick up a foul, but likely because he didn't bother to play any defense. 0 steals, 0 blocks. 23 and 7. Wiseman, I think, is a stream, at least on the points league side. While Jalen Duren is out, I have a lot of trouble firing him up in a 9-category situation because his peripheral stats are whack. His free throw percentage is whack. If you are, if you're in a particular punt build and all you need is field goal percent and some rebounds, then okay. But to me, the bad kind of outweighs the good. And I feel the same way about Marvin Bagley. The bad is going to outweigh the good here. He didn't start at power forward. He was playing behind the aforementioned Livers. Bagley is a points league darling. Hamidou Diallo is a points league darling. Diallo is another guy who has a really rough time at the free throw line. Pretty good with steals and field goal percent. But the problem with these guys, and I know the follow-up that you guys are like, well, you just talked about Dennis Smith Jr., Dan, being really good at steals and assists and not particularly good at other stuff. The difference is that Dennis Smith Jr. is not a tank guy in any one category. He's not a punt play. He's not bad at something to a point where it negatively impacts your team. Like DSJ is not going to hit many 3-pointers. He'll hit like half a ball game, but that doesn't kill your team the way that, Bagley going 1 for 3 at the free throw line, or heaven forbid he gets there more often, or Wiseman going 4 out of 6, or Diallo going 3 out of 6. These guys are all punt free throw dudes. They're all kind of punt 3-point dudes on top of that. They're all kind of punt other stuff too. None of them, Marvin Bagley probably has the best shot to hit 3-pointers among that crew. But again, if you have a particular build, if you punting particular things, points league, stuff like that, that's why these guys need to be mentioned. If you're Roto, I wouldn't. Miami got a rare win these days, which maybe that isn't fair. But the Heat have looked bad lately. Played better in this ball game. Got off to a good start and then kind of rode that the rest of the way. Jimmy Butler, the focal point of everything that went right for the Heat in yesterday's contest. He's back up to number 14 on a per-game basis. The good news there is because the Heat have been kind of bad this season, Jimmy Butler probably can't take rest days. So he might actually get up into the mid-60s in games played, which would end up making him a pretty good fantasy asset. Because what do the Heat have left? About 20 ball games? I think there's a real chance that Butler plays in like 90% of their remaining games. That would make him a hit this year. Cool. Kevin Love had a tougher time in this one, not surprisingly, because of the Philly front court. He still had 8 points, 5 boards, and a couple of threes. I don't know what the right fantasy terminology is for Kevin Love. He's not a speculative ad because he's starting, and I think if he's starting games, you can start him in your fantasy league, but I also know that his upside is severely limited by the fact that Kevin Love can't guard anybody. He never really could, but now he really can as he's gotten older. But the Heat badly looking for floor spacing. That's why he's in the starting lineup. They trust his three-point shot more than that of Caleb Martin. And so every day, Spo is just kind of mixing and matching to try to find the guys that they can space around Butler and Adebayo. And if that's Kevin Love, a little more rebounding and some floor spacing, but bad defense, that's the card they're playing right now. So I know his minutes were lower in this one. I think they'll generally be a little bit higher against non-gigantor Joel Embiid teams. I also think there's a very real chance, like 60% or higher, that the Heat go away from Kevin Love if someone else on the team starts to warm up from the perimeter. But he should be rostered for now. Gabe Vincent was a little bit better. Still feels like Kyle Lowry's starting to get close. Vincent hasn't been able to do enough as long as Tyler Hero's been around. And now I feel like Kevin Love actually made the situation worse because he's not only a power forward that is out there to space the floor. Love is not going to be shy in a way that Caleb Martin is often shy with shooting the basketball. DeAnthony Melton got 31 minutes. You can't see me if you're not watching this show, but I just threw my arms out to the side in confusion. It's all how the game is going. Doc Rivers is going full feel mode with Melton's minutes these days. So sometimes it's 13 and he's fouling out. Sometimes it's 23. Sometimes it's 31. I think in general, the sort of normal game for Melton is probably around 25. Tyrese Maxey fouled out of this game in 28 minutes, so that gave Melton a couple extra. But we're talking maybe 3 or 4 Maxey minutes that went back to DeAnthony. I think, this hurts me to say it, and Sports Ethos people are going to come hunt me down and stab me in my cruddy little office chair. I think Melton is probably droppable even after a 31-minute ball game. Personally, you guys always want to know what I'm actually doing with him myself. Personally, I am holding on for one more game. He bought himself another game on my roster. You guys might remember that 3 games ago, I said Melton's got 3 games to prove to me he belongs on my roster, and he was terrible for the first 2, and he was serviceable here in the 3rd. So he bought himself just a little bit more time. He still doesn't get to do anything when he plays with Harden and Embiid. That's what kills me. He doesn't get to do anything, especially now that Maxey comes in and takes all the bench shots. Harden, Embiid, and Maxey combined for 47 of Philly's 73 field goal attempts in this game. They also combined for 19 of Philly's 28 free throw attempts in this game. They also combined for 12 of Philly's 18 turnovers in this game. There's just nothing left beyond those three guys. Sometimes you get a little bit going to Tobias Harris, who, by the way, is a hold even after this terrible ball game. He's been good enough, not nearly as good as he was earlier in the year, but he's been good enough to hang on to. But there's just nothing left for Maxey as the fifth option. But I am holding on for one more ball game because even if he doesn't have anything to do, if he manages to play high 20s in minutes, he'll do enough in the defensive department and probably hit a couple of three-pointers. That would be enough to barely hang on, but I do think that we're probably right at the tail end. The Knicks have been playing well these days. Josh Hart has given them an invigorated spirit. They moved in front of the Nets. They've won 6 games in a row for a season-best 9 games over 500. And frankly, they're trying to chase down the Cavs. They might do it. Probably not, but they might. Knicks are legitimately decent this year. They're not great, but they have the personnel that Tom Thibodeau loves to play some defense. So they're D'ing up this year. Julius Randle has been much more efficient. And having Jalen Brunson around has been a big part of that. Just having someone else that can go create a little bit. I love what Josh Hart has done for this team. He was a plus 15 in the ball game. How much did they win the game by? 15. Quentin Grimes, who started the game, was a 0 in plus minus. I continue to wonder how long before Tibbs starts Josh Hart, but they're winning right now, so I don't think they're going to change anything up while it's working. Emmanuel quickly had his second good ball game in a row. He's still more of a schedule stream play because once he cools off, all the fun goes away. And then Mitchell Robinson is fully cranked up now, 32 minutes. He missed all 4 of his free throws. Oh, my God, shoot me in the face. But 10 points, 13 boards, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 5 for 5 from the field. That'll play. As far as Boston goes, no big surprises there. Jason Tatum got ejected and then had a really funny tweet after the ball game. Someone posted a video of Randall fouling Tatum on a 3-point shot. And Tatum quote tweeted the video and said, "This is what I get for fouling Bron." You guys all remember the foul that Tatum had on LeBron at the end of that Celtics-Lakers game. I like when the players can look at something and tell the truth and then turn it into a joke. That was funny. I liked it. Even as a Laker fan, I liked it. You got to work hard to get me to say nice things about the Celtics outside of fantasy. Time Lord was quiet, but fairly productive. 7 boards, couple of blocks, 3 of 4. He missed 2 free throws. Otherwise, I would have been pretty satisfied with 29 minutes. He obviously hasn't been what we wanted him to be, but he's more of a 70 range guy instead of a 30 range guy. Still startable. Just try to make that adjustment in your heart for Time Lord. Don't expect top 30. It's not happening. If you expect top 65, top 70, 75, whatever, then you won't be so upset when he has a game like this one because you're like, well, this is only a little bit behind my target. Big Al was fine. Again, kind of the same story. We figured he would be more like top 50 before the team got healthy. He was more like top 60, 70. Now they're healthy, and he's more like top 80. It'll be fine. Jaylen Brown missed this one ball game. He's expected back for the next one. That just meant more for Malcolm Brogdon, more for Derek White. We know how that goes for Boston. Move along. Orlando, New Orleans, just the 4th and final game, believe it or not, of this very short Monday card. Don't worry, we have a Tuesday preview coming up here. A lot of games going on tonight. Jonathan Isaac sat this one out with a hamstring soreness. I think they might even be calling it like a fully pulled a hammy. What a pisser, man. He was actually, I thought, within 7 to 10 days of getting up near 20 minutes. But this is going to set him back. He might, if this hamstring thing keeps Jonathan Isaac out for more than a week, we might not see him hit 20 minutes this year, even in the remaining 6 weeks, because they might just keep him at 18 the whole way through. But, again, if you've been squatting on him all this way, just keep squatting. Because if he does get up to 20 minutes, which, by the way, makes Orlando better when he's in there playing a few more minutes a ball game. Magic, by the way, 26 and 36 on the year, 6 and 4 overall. That was, I thought, a pretty easy overcall back in August because the lines were set so low, and I think everybody thought the Magic were going to tank again this year, but they got the first pick. They had their tank. You got to figure out how, like, read the room a little bit. Who's the team that didn't get the pick they wanted? Houston wanted a higher one. That was a Spurs, obviously, once they detonated the whole thing. Anyway, Cole Anthony got up to 27 minutes and had his worst productivity in a while, even in the higher minutes. This is kind of a weird one. Gary Harris played less. Markelle Fultz played a tiny bit less, although he's the engine, man. Markelle is running that team right now. He's been great. Mo Wagner played a little bit more again. He kind of outplayed Wendell Carter Jr. for a few stretches of this game, but not the whole way through. The minutes really had a strange distribution for Orlando yesterday. Jalen Suggs also got 23 minutes. The problem, of course, Jalen Suggs is more of a punt guy, points league type. Cole Anthony gravitates that way, but not quite, because he does get you points, threes, rebounds, assists, and steals, which is kind of enough for category leagues. But as this team's gotten healthy now, it just feels like those fringy guys aren't probably going to be there. Here's the thing. What am I actually going to do myself? That's what you guys all want to know at the end of the day. What's Dan actually going to do? I don't want Jalen Suggs on my team, and I don't think I want Cole Anthony either. I'd rather just move on, head-to-head, roto, whatever. I think there's better stuff out there. And frankly, with Dennis Smith Jr. popping up and Kevin Love popping up and Josh Richardson, who we're just about to talk about, had a quieter game, 5 fouls in 27 minutes. He's a better option than these guys. Herb Jones, who got, and I'm guilty of this, I bailed on him when he was hurt for half the season, but he's back up to 115 on the year at this point. Herb had a really rough start to the season, but he's been much, much better lately. Last month or so, I think it's been more of the uptick with Herb. He's still hovering around just inside the top 100, but that'll play in typical 9-cat 12-teamers. Yes, he gravitates towards being more of a steal specialist, but Herb is a hold, Richardson's a hold, and everybody else on that team that's coming off the bench. Basically here, let's make this easy. Start the starters for New Orleans right now. J. Rich, Herb, Ingram, JV, McCollum. Start the starters. Larry Nance is out probably for a couple of weeks, if I had to guess. So Jackson Hayes picked up a few extra minutes when the Pels tried to mix and match, see if they could get something else, just overcome Orlando. Things are rough right now for the Pellies. Man, do they miss Zion. Holy moly, what a difference that dude made. I know you can't give the MVP to a guy who barely played, but I don't know that anybody in the league is meaning more to their team than Zion Williamson this year. The Pelicans went from pushing the top seed in the West to barely able to win basketball games. They're 30-32 now. It wasn't that long ago we were talking about, are the Pels a contender? It was Zion. You could see it. The eye test showed that he made them better, but I don't think any of us thought it was this big of a deal. These other guys are just kind of running out of gas of winning without Zion. Anyway, start the starters. This is your opportunity to try to milk a little bit out of Jonas Valanciunas while the backup center options are either not there or bad. Want to take a moment mid-show to remind everybody to hit me up either on YouTube or on Twitter at Dan Besbris if you'd like to join here at Sports Ethos and sportsethos.com. I just found out we have 2 more potential football shows coming out. Folks that want to cover different teams. I think there might be a Steelers show in the works. If you guys are passionate about sports, I know some of you are so passionate, and you want to cover a team, basketball, baseball, football, hockey, whatever, hit me up at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris, or just drop it in the YouTube chat. I'll see it in the next couple of minutes over there, and let me know, and we'll connect, and we'll see if it's going to be a fit, and you want to cover a team as a podcaster. It's a blast, man. It's a blast, but it's also a grind. You want to make this part of your life? This is a cool time to do it. Also, oh my God, we had a big viewership today. Also, check out our baseball draft guide. It's the first time we've ever had a baseball draft guide at Sports Ethos and sportsethos.com. Go to sportsethos.com, click on the premium tab, and choose Get Premium. $5.99 for the Fantasy Pass for a full month. You get the whole baseball draft guide. You get premium NBA comes in it as well. And we'll see you over in our Discord, which I actually, you know what? I'm going to put the Discord invite. It's in the show description, I think, somewhere. But I'm going to drop it in the YouTube chat right now as well. And, of course, if you're watching with us over on YouTube, please like and subscribe. This is one of the biggest shows we've done in a while. I don't know what's making it click quite like this. Maybe it's the fact that we're talking about LaMelo and LeBron today, but it's really cool to have all of you here. Super excited when the YouTube stuff grows. And this is the first day I've looked at it and gone, damn, we got bigger today. So like and subscribe. That's how more people will find it. That's how we'll continue to get bigger. And that's how I will do shows feeling happier as I do them. And don't you guys ultimately want me to be happy? Isn't my happiness the most important thing to you? Here's the Discord link. There, we'll throw it up on the screen. And if you're listening on the recorded side, it's in the show description. So you should be able to pop on over and join us over there. I also, by the way, I did a live Q&A in Discord yesterday. Figured I'd mix it up a little bit, see if I could pull a few folks in. And yeah, so that's another fun reason. You know, if you're not hitting me up here. Okay, let's talk about what's coming up tonight. I'm going to have a real good time. I feel alive. Anybody want to name that reference? Chicago is at Toronto. Freddie VanVleet, I think, is off the injury report, if I'm remembering that from yesterday, which actually this gives us something that we have been waiting to find out, and that is, what does the Raptors starting five look like when everybody's back around? My guess is that Gary Trent is going to move to the bench, but we'll see. This is a possible opportunity for us to check that out. Kristaps Porzingis is back out for the Wizards, as is Monte Morris, meaning fire up DeLon Wright. You're probably going to do that anyway. Fire up Daniel Gafford, and you probably can even fire up Denny Avdia, although he's a little bit more fringy there. Gafford's the one that makes the huge leap forward with guaranteed center minutes. You know, he'll probably play 28 to 30, and we've seen Gafford go top 60 value when he's getting full starters minutes like that. So really good opportunity for a Daniel Gafford stream today. Atlanta, I think this will officially be the first game under Quinn Snyder, so that's kind of cool. Joe Prunty coached the last two. Hawks won them. I am interested to see if anything actually changes with this Hawks team, other than just like the short blip of good vibes when everybody just has change. Sometimes change is scary. Sometimes teams are kind of ready for it. I don't expect Saddiq Bey to have value going forward. I think John Collins trends up a little bit, and then everything else probably stays about the same with, maybe does Okongwu see a little bit more playing time, but he should be rostered anyway. So no change there. Milwaukee, Giannis is probable, last I checked. So this will be an interesting test also. Chris Middleton probably still stuck in that 26, 27-minute range. But now you've got Crowder and Connaughton and Bobby Portis all kind of jammed into that power forward reserve bucket. None of this is going to be relevant for 12-teamers, but it might be for a little bit deeper. Brooklyn, I'm watching Cam Thomas to see what his role settles in. It looks like it's settling into something lightly useful in Roto, but more useful in head-to-head, but we'll see on that front. Lakers, without LeBron, we know that. Probably without D'Angelo Russell. This is a streamer opportunity. Jared Vanderbilt is more than a stream. He was a guy we talked about for great length on yesterday's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed our deep dive on Jared Vanderbilt yesterday. He's a start. Malik Beasley's a start with no Bron or D'Lo. Dennis Schroeder's probably a start with no Bron or D'Lo, but he's a little bit more questionable in my eyes just because there's a chance that he gets completely trucked by the Memphis backcourt. So Lakers have some stuff. For Memphis, I assume they're going to go Xavier Tillman against Anthony Davis in the front court, but I don't know for sure. Whatever you're doing there, they're probably going to put up an okay line against the Lakers team that is going to be, going full reserve mode. But also, I get it if you're a little sheepish. I'm a little bit sheepish there. Denver, I think everybody's healthy for this one, so nothing. Houston, we might be getting some guys back. And if we do, then I am curious what that does to KJ Martin more than, frankly, anybody else. So that's kind of the guy to watch if people come back for the Rockets. Otherwise, same old shtick. Sacramento, nothing really. Malik Monk's been on a little bit of a heater lately. You can kind of ride him when he goes on these 3 or 4 game juicers. And then you want to hop off the boat when it runs out. OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got placed in quarantine. He's in protocols. It's not quarantine anymore. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got put in protocols today. He's the first COVID case in the NBA in a long time, which, that reminds me, I haven't gone to the COVID tracker website in like 3 months because things have just been kind of chill across the country, but for like a couple cities, cases are very low for COVID. So this one kind of coming up out of the blue. There is a lot of fear that the Thunder are going into a tank. I don't think that's what's happening here. Honestly, the team's just been too good. Pulling the plug on Shai, I think, would set a really bad precedent for a team that's kind of winning this year. I think it would piss off Shai, honestly. I think the dude wants to play. I think he wants to get back in there and compete for a playoff spot because that's big for their growth, even if they get run in a play-in. I don't think it's a full tank. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm optimistic, but I don't think they're going full tank mode yet. Anyway, with Shai out, Isaiah Joe will probably take 25 shots again, so he's a good streamer there. Indiana, nothing. Dallas, nothing really. I think they've mostly settled in. I mean, I suppose we could put a little, like, one left eye wink to Justin Holiday to see what his deal is going to be here. San Antonio, I said it on yesterday's show. I'm not going to repeat my take on everybody for the Spurs every single show. If you need to know my take on the Spurs, just look at anything I've done over the last, 5 days. And here's the very short version. Trey Jones is questionable. If he plays, he might be on a minutes cap. But, once he gets through that, he's a 9-cat guy. Zach Collins is a 9-cat guy. Devin Vassell is still hurt. He would be a 9-cat guy, but it doesn't sound like he's, right around the corner. I think the hope is that he's semi-close. He could be a roto guy you squat on a little bit. And then everybody else on the Spurs leans more punt and pointsy. That's Branham. That's Sohan. That's Devontae Graham. The list goes on and on. All of these guys make more sense head-to-head with a punt or points formats. That's the Spurs. Just pin that until something changes. Utah. Curious about Chris Dunn. He's kind of semi-overtaken Talen Horton-Tucker. Not completely, but those guys moving into a timeshare would be a real pain in the butt. So let's keep an eye on that. Minnesota, nothing other than whether or not Rudy Gobert plays, because if he doesn't, you go Naz Reid. Clippers, they can't help but lose overtime games these days. Maybe they'll get their first win in the Russell Westbrook era here against the Timberwolves. It's a game the Clippers should win. I am curious what ends up happening at the center spot once both Zubats and Plumlee are healthy, but Zu's been out for the last couple of ball games. I'm also curious about Norman Powell's role going forward. He had carved out a nice little niche with the Clips, but Westbrook might be blowing that up. We will find out soon enough. Portland. They're still missing a handful of guys. I think we have a pretty good idea of what they are these days, which is Eubanks, low-end center replacement, Thibault, steals and blocks, Reddish, couple of points, and, that's probably about as far as you're venturing down that rabbit hole. And then the Warriors are going to be without Andrew Wiggins again. Steph is still out, so expect Dante DiVincenzo to have a nice ball game. Draymond Green is expected back for the Warriors, so Kevon Looney doesn't have quite the wide-open highway that he had in the last couple of ball games. That, my friends, is your Tuesday edition of Fantasy NBA Today. To my recorded listeners, thank you as always. We love you much. Hit me up on Twitter at Dan Bespris, and then come join us on YouTube for the next live show. Come get your questions answered over there. We will. Well, wait, it's a Sports Ethos presentation. I forgot to tell you. SportsEthos.com. Ethos Fantasy BK is the basketball feed. Ethos Fantasy BB is the baseball feed. Definitely go check that out. If any of the thousands of you play a little fantasy baseball, I hope we'll see you over there. And Joe Orico is running an excellent baseball operation. For real this time. See you tomorrow. All right, YouTubers, let's do this thing. We're going lightning round mode. I'm going to get this show done at a better clip today. Please do continue to like and subscribe, by the way. There was a big leap in likes and likes earlier on in the show, and then it leveled off. So a couple of you if any of you have joined here over the last bit. All right, where did we leave off at the beginning? Oh, man, we got a lot of them here. I got to move my head around on the screen so you can see the rank board a little better. With Melton decline and DSJ with the runway, is it time for Melton to say goodbye? Even with the decent schedule, playoffs have begun. Yeah, I'd rather have Dennis Smith Jr. Mitso. Hey, Dan, I'm in third in my Roto League, and the only way to move up is to drop Mark Williams. Whoa. I need 3 steals and points. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get you 3s. He's not going to get you many points. Might get you a steal here and there. But you're probably looking at like 0.6 in a better case scenario. So you do what you got to do. I mean, I don't know your team. So if you just need me to like sympathize with you, I sympathize with you. Sometimes you got to drop a guy you don't want to. Wish you could trade him. Hey, Dan, it's playoff week. I would like to drop Melton for someone more stable. Killian Hayes, DeLon Wright, Josh Richardson on the wire. Yeah. I'm going Jay Rich over DeLon over Killian Hayes in those 3. Marvin Bagley, Dennis Smith Jr., Tyrese Maxey. Which 2 to keep in Roto? The latter 2. DSJ and Maxey. No question, just here to say good morning. Hello, Blake. Blake runs our amazing wagering division, which has been on a furious tear. Mike Kolsinski, dude, and Mike Fiddle. The Mikes have been red hot. Also, Mike Fiddle's turned into a Twitter sensation over the last little bit. Pretty good over there, man. Love that. Love that wagering stuff going on. You guys are kicking butt. Ethos Wagering, by the way, if you want to follow those dudes over there. Don't forget to thumbs up. Yes, I agree. We did this one. Schroeder and Bagley or Monte Morris and Killian Hayes for the Fantasy Playoff Points League. Boom. Monte's out, so Schroeder Bagley. Currently have a bye. Dennis Smith Jr. has 4 games next week, 2 the week after in the finals. Would you still add DSJ in a points league and then stream a spot in the finals, or stick with Kevin Love, who has 2 4-game weeks? I would go DSJ and then switch it to somebody else. I think his upside is excellent and better than Kevin Love's. Should I drop Aaron Gordon? I'm trying to punt free throw. If you're punting free throws, I think you can keep Aaron Gordon. My nose is snuffly. Dan, do you think Dennis Smith Jr. is going to come off the bench but getting a lot of minutes? I think KOJ might start with Rozier. Yeah, Oubre might start. You know, I actually think Dennis Smith Jr. starts because I think they'd rather have Oubre getting shots in the second unit. There won't be as many shots for him in that first unit. Dennis Smith fits better as more of a distributor. Yeah, life of a father. You heard it, man. Wearing shirt inside out so the label doesn't show is a power move. Yeah, I was talking about Philip G before the ball game. My boy Philip. Dude had a tattoo. Let me see if I can remember the tattoo. God, I love that dude. I believe it was an eagle snatching a lion off a giant slice of pizza. Was a tattoo he had on his chest. Also an Alf Pog, Simpsons reference. Do I drop Marvin Bagley or Cam Thomas to add Dennis Smith Jr.? It's probably Bagley, but that's assuming that Beef Stew is back in the next 2 to 3 ball games or something like that. Yeah, agree, Rami. Drop Norman Powell 2 games next week during the playoffs. Yeah, probably. He was kind of just above the cut line before Russ. So he probably falls behind him. I do want to kind of see, but given your playoff schedule, DJ, Andre, you probably do have to drop him. Those ball boys have skinny ankles. Yeah, man, Beans. Ball boys, Alonzo, not the ball boys, the podcasters, the LaMelos and the Lonzos. Lonzo is his knee these days, though, isn't it? Just leg stuff. I had to draft this boy in the first round of my dynasty league. Yeah, sorry, dude. LaMelo's going to be a pain. What are your thoughts on Cam Thomas and Isaiah Joe? Do you think it'll be valuable for the rest of the season? Joe, no. His big jump here came with Shea out. Cam Thomas, maybe. Leangelo, the most durable ball. That sounds like a great sitcom. Leangelo, the most durable ball. But yeah, he is a bigger dude. Roto still just isn't as fun. Yeah, well, you know what's fun? Money. I lost I was going to win $1,000 in that league if my two best players didn't get hurt for 3 days during the semifinals. I don't care how much fun I had beating my friends up to that point. I want their money. And I can take their money in Roto because my guy missing a week doesn't kill me. I think OKC's going into tank mode is a more interesting topic over Dennis Smith Jr. I think we're overdoing it with OKC. I really don't think it's full tank. The dude actually got hurt. And now he's got COVID. You can't fake that. If they found out they were faking that, I think the league would be beyond irate. He's going to come back. He's going to play. I would put one bag of Oreos on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming back when he's done with COVID protocols and playing pretty much the rest of the way. If they really wanted to tank, they would have rested him in all the back-to-backs, and they stopped doing that for some stretches. They weren't tanking. Hi, Dan. Should I stream Denny Avdia or Charles Bassey? I'll probably go Avdia because Kristaps is hurt. What are we doing with Jalen Duren? Been holding, but feels like I'm missing out on some streamers and good ads. Yeah, I mean, if you got to move on, you got to move on. I get it. I dropped Marvin and grabbed Schroeder because of back-to-back. Thoughts on Shea? I need him back. I think he'll be back in a week. I don't know how long the protocol stuff is going to be, but I think he'll be back in a week. That was back when we had 29 thumbs up. Now there are 37 thumbs ups. I see more questions are coming in. All right, I better pick up the speed here. Cam Thomas, Naz Reid, Delon Wright, all available. Oh, this is if you were going to drop Jalen Duren. That comes back to that question. Of these guys, I think Delon's my favorite as a rest of season play. Cam Thomas is a rest of season play. But if we find out Gobert's out, Naz Reid has the biggest single game ability to explode. I have a bye in a points league. Yeah, hold until Sunday, basically. If we don't get any good news on Duren, then you move on. No reason to do anything on Tuesday. When Porzingis comes back, I don't think Gafford was a play. His minutes went way down. Thanks for your time, brother. Appreciate it. Appreciate you liking tweets and liking. Oh, here, what's this? Yeah. Many of you, please do like Dione does. Like posts, like tweets, whatever. Anything you guys can do helps us grow at Sports Ethos. I know that we're kind of a medium-size operation now at Sports Ethos, but we still treat ourselves like we're small. We're still just sort of hustling and fighting. So whatever you can do is a big deal because without you guys helping, there's just no way we can catch the biggest boppers out there, the NBCs and such. We'll try, though. Let's see what we got here. Who am I dropping for a streamer spot? Jalen Duren or Colin Sexton? Well, we know Sexton's out at least another week. We have no idea what's going on with Duren. I think I'm dropping Duren. When Sexton comes back, it feels like he can be the higher-ranked guy between these two dudes. Drop Jaden Ivey for Chris Dunn or Tari Eason. No, I don't think so. No. Should I drop Aaron Gordon in a 12-teamer after this match? He only has 2 games next week. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't think he's that great. Playoffs next week. Is Duren still a hold or better to use that as a streaming spot, even if he's healthy? If he's healthy, he's a hold. But I'm not certain he's going to be healthy. So, I don't know if that helps you. Dan, what do you think of Steve Clifford saying that maybe he's going to play the young guys? Oh, who the hell are the young guys on that? He's playing the young guys. I assume that mostly means Gordon Hayward. I'll believe it when I see it. They've won a few ball games in a row. There aren't that many younger dudes that they can sub in effectively, guys that they really badly want to develop on that club. So I'll believe it when I see it. For now, I'm rolling with my Dennis Smith Jr. pickup and all these other guys. I have a crap ton of Hornets, which is great because they take 9,000 shots a ball game. Any news on Jamal? I assume that's Jamal Murray, who I think was questionable. Nothing today yet. I'm expecting him to play, but hard to know until we get a little bit closer to the ball game. Sorry, Noodles. I don't have an update. Don't worry, Kyung. I'm coming back to you. I'm just doing the Noodles questions back to back. Back to back Noodles. What are the chances Giannis plays both sets of the back to back this week? Low. Let's take a look at the Bucks schedule before I just throw that out at you. Their back to back is Nets, Magic. Magic have been playing better. If the Magic were playing worse, I'd have said maybe they're give them a day off. I think they might give them tomorrow off against the Magic. It's a home game. They figure Middleton, Drew, those guys can lead the charge without it. But he'll probably play here in Brooklyn tonight because that one's a more exciting ball game. So I'm going to say 25% chances he plays in the back-to-back. I don't think he does. By the way, if you guys are watching, and there's a lot of you watching, this is your last chance to get a question in because I'm getting towards the end of them here. And if I hit the end before another question pops up, I'm signing off. Who are worth playing in Roto in order? Jay Rich, Tyrese Maxey, Dennis Smith Jr., Bagpee. Best typo of the day award goes to Kyung. Marvin Bagpee. You know, for most of his career, his fantasy game has been a bag of pee. Order that I like playing these guys. Jay Rich over Maxey over Dennis Smith Jr. over Bagpee. Sorry if I missed your take on it, but who was your ad after the LeBron injury? Well, I already added Jared Vanderbilt, so I don't need to re-add him, but if you haven't, you should, because he's getting big minutes against key players on the other side, and now some of his minutes are going to go to LeBron. Beasley was pretty fringy with LeBron in there, but he's going to have to take a bunch of shots now because they just don't have other decent options. Even if he's cold, he's going to make enough three-pointers to hit 12-teamers. Beasley might not be a play once D'Angelo Russell comes back. To me, he's right on the cusp. And then Dennis Schroeder probably is a play with both Russell and LeBron out, but almost definitely isn't when either of those guys comes back. So hopefully that does that. Yeah, unfortunate, but you know what? At least it's not another injury. I think we see Shea by March 6th. Depending on how bad he got COVID, I guess. Wow, 75 of you are watching the show right now. That's sweet. We really legitimately are growing. I'm so excited by this. Those of you that are joining late, please like and subscribe while you're here. And this is like your truly last call for putting a question in the YouTube chat. Truly last call. Oh, by the way, follow me on Twitter, please. If you're finding us here not via Twitter and you don't follow me, at Dan Bespris, really important. All right, Jose, do you think we will see today or tomorrow how the Rockets look with Jalen Green and KPJ again? I don't know if the question is, do I think it's today or tomorrow or either? I think the answer is yes, is the short answer. I think those guys are back for this part of this set. I think it's going to be ugly still. I think KJ Martin is going to get pushed to the periphery a bit, unfortunately. And then, you know, you just cross your fingers, close your eyes, and hope. What do you do with Kyle Anderson next week with 2 games? You stream it, unfortunately. I love slow-mo, but you got to stream his slot. He's not good enough to be worth sitting on in a 2-game week. 2-game weeks, guys that you hang on to are 75 or better, reliably. And honestly, more like 60 or better. But if you have like multiple weeks after that in your playoffs, then I can get it. I got offered Sabonis for my JJJ. I'm in first blocks category by about 60, and I need field goal percent, so I guess I should do it. Ooh. I guess it depends on how fast people can catch you in the blocks department. Maybe do it in like 2 games from now if you can let it hang out for a few minutes. Hold Mo Bamba or drop him. You can drop. Can you project any names for the last few weeks that might have production that aren't discussed presently? Well, most of them got discussed. I think Indiana is an opportunity if they pivot into the losing. I thought it was going to be Chicago, but they've won a couple games, and so they're going to convince themselves they should keep winning. Thunder might try out a few guys. if they fall out of the play-in fight, but they're still only one game out. So I think that's probably not going to happen. And that's the thing with the play-in is that really the teams that are tanking are the only ones we can reliably say will play goofball lineups, and they're basically all doing it already, with the exception of the Hornets, who are anti-tanking right now. The Magic, this is who they are. They're not going to play somebody else. The Pacers are the only team I could see, because right now they're 2 games out of a play-in spot, but the Wizards have been losing, so the Pacers have been able to stay close enough where maybe you see someone like an Isaiah Jackson down the stretch. But even that's winging a prayer. Hope Gabe Vincent or streaming Cam Reddish, really trying to target threes and steals. I don't know if Cam Reddish is going to be good enough to be your stream there. I think I'd rather hold Gabe Vincent. If you could stream other guys and really maximize that spot, then I might say yes, but I'm just not that excited about Cam Reddish. Thoughts on Hachimura with LeBron out? I don't think he does very much. He lost most of his playing time to Jared Vanderbilt. He'll do more, but his fantasy game doesn't translate all that well. Or Chris Dunn. Oh, he's not going to get you threes typically, but he will get you a bunch of steals. I might consider that. Or Nas Little? Nah, I'll pass on Nas. Playoff week 1 and head-to-head. If I'm in a tight one, is it possible that Jamal Murray is a drop? If he doesn't play today, he realistically may not play a game this week. Yeah. Jamal's one of those dudes that's good enough. You kind of have to wait to see if he's going to get a chance to play. I get it. Like you. Yeah, I mean, I understand you have to be cutthroat. It's tough, though, with multiple playoff weeks left. If this was the second week of the playoffs and you were just trying to get to the finals, I might say go for it. Playoff week 1, I don't think I would drop him unless we found out he definitely wasn't going to play this week. That's a really tough one because Jamal has been top 50 when he's been healthy lately, meaning he's a guy that will really elevate your team the following couple weeks of the playoffs. You try not to drop those guys unless they truly are out for a whole week. Science teacher, do you believe Michael Carter-Williams will affect 25-plus Suggs minutes? No, I don't. I think the guys that are already there are going to keep it from being any Suggs minutes. Well. All right, everybody, that's it. We got to the end of the questions. No more. Cutting it off. Really appreciate one of the biggest listenerships we've had in a long time on today's show. Please like and subscribe on your way out. We'll do it all again tomorrow. So long for now, everybody.